Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Okay, in this video, we are going to be talking about 2022 interior design trends that will age well. These are the trends that I think are going to age gracefully. So last week I did a video on the interior design trends that I don't think are going to age particularly well, just for a little proceed with caution. So I'm gonna link to that video at the end of this one. But this week I thought we'd go a little bit more positive and say that the hot trends that are really popular right now here in 2022, which ones do I think will actually have some staying power that will not look dated in 5 years. So let's talk about them. Okay, the first interior design trend that I think will age gracefully is going to be walnut wood. So, for many years now, the really pale light oak Scandinavian style wood has been very popular, right? Seen it in flooring. We've all seen those gorgeous floors, which are like these really beautiful light oak flooring, really popular in that Scandinavian design style that is timeless. It has been around for many years and it is very popular, and I think is actually a very beautiful look and is not something that is going to look particularly dated soon. But I would say definitely what we have seen is over the last several years, these really pale light woods have been the ones that have been very trendy, to the detriment of the sort of medium toned or darker toned woods that are very popular. Now, here's the thing. Wood, in my opinion, is timeless. I think wood is always gorgeous, whether it's light, whether it's dark, whether it's got sort of a red cherry undertone, whether it's got a really chocolatey brown undertone, whether it's pale, light, and yellow. They're all beautiful in my opinion. But these things do tend to work in cycles. And right now I'm seeing sort of the whispers of walnut coming back as being a very popular wood choice here in 2022. I think people are moving a little bit more away from the lighter, paler oaks, which again, nothing wrong with those either, and moving more towards these sort of medium or darker toned walnuts. I think that this is beautiful and I think this trend will continue for a while, but I don't think it's a trend that you're going to feel bad about in 5 years, because walnut, it's my favorite wood. I'm gonna be honest, it's the one that I actually don't have a whole ton of walnut in this house, but it is actually my favorite wood. It's very expensive, I'm not gonna lie. It is on the premium side for sure. Probably the reason why I don't have a lot of it, but it is expensive, but it is gorgeous. Walnut wood is beautiful and timeless, and it just has a certain elegant charm to it. It is just this really gorgeous chocolatey brown. It never really looks out of style in my opinion, and so I think that, you know, we're seeing so many popular walnut coffee tables, we're seeing it in, you know, media consoles, seeing it in chairs, you know, seeing it, of course, we're seeing it on like the wood paneling and a lot of like, you know, the sort of built-ins, which are just absolutely beautiful. And so walnut is definitely taking over for 2022. I do think that that is going to continue, but I don't think it's a flash in the pan, because I don't think walnut, like most woods, is ever really a flash in the pan. I think it ebbs and flows, but I think it's always a timeless look. So I don't think you will regret jumping in on this walnut trend, just like I hope you don't regret jumping in on the oak trend from several years ago, because it's still just as beautiful now as well. But definitely seeing this move towards walnut, and I am here for it. Okay, next up here is the trend towards natural materials. Now, here's the thing. I did some research for this video and I was looking around to what other people are saying is really trendy, because, you know, it's always nice to check in and see what my peers, I guess, are sort of saying. And this one came up a lot, that a lot of people are saying that natural materials are trendy, which I find very interesting, because I don't really think that natural materials are a trend so much as just always beautiful. Like, I think I did a video ages ago. It's probably one of my favorite videos I've ever done, to be honest, if I do say so myself. And it was about timeless design, where I tried to answer the question of like, what is timeless design? And I think I say in that video, like, have you ever walked through a forest and been like, you know, God, this place is dated? Like, no, of course not. Forests are always beautiful. They're always timeless. They never look out of date, because nature never goes out of style. It's always gorgeous. The real question should be, does your budget match your love of natural materials? Because these materials are usually more expensive than a lot of the manufactured stuff, because, well, it's natural and therefore, you know, it takes time for Mother Nature to do her thing, while manufactured stuff can just kind of slide off of a conveyor belt. So a little bit of a price premium here with natural materials, but it's never really something I feel that is in or out. I feel like they're always in, but people are saying natural materials are really in for 2022. So I'm going to believe them and say, okay, let's talk about it. Do I think this is a trend that will always look good? Yeah, like I said, they're timeless. They are always beautiful. They're always gonna look stunning. I think that if you find pieces that are in your particular design style, where you really know yourself and you know the look that you're trying to create, and you're comfortable in your own style, and you really wanna find some investment pieces, maybe in walnut, because you know, that's beautiful, or maybe something else, then really latch on to some of these natural materials. They are gonna be a little bit more expensive, but yeah, they're always going to be timeless. And included in this, I'm gonna say stone, which of course, you know, we've got marble, granite, limestone, you know, travertine, onyx, you've got all sorts of different stones that are always beautiful. You've got materials like leather, you've got linen, you've got cotton, you've got wool, you've got brick, you've got, of course, wood, probably the natural material that is used the most in interior design. I would say with any of these materials, you know, apparently they're on trend in 2022. They will look good forever. Yes, if you can afford them. Yes, if they're in your style, definitely get them, invest in them, because you know, you will not regret it, because they will always look stunning. Okay, next up, hot 2022 design trend that will age well is going to be vintage furniture. And I'm also gonna throw in vintage, but I'm also gonna say thrifted is included in this, as well as, you know, any sort of found pieces that may have come your way, however you sort of get them. But we're talking about those older vintage pieces that you're mixing in that old in with the new. That is very, very popular right now. Definitely something that is on trend in interior design. I think this is something that'll be just as beautiful several years down the road, because I think that designs that were beautiful in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, whatever, or if you can get earlier, of course, if you can get some Art Deco pieces from the 20s, like good on ya. But if you can find some of those vintage pieces and they come your way, mixing them in with some newer decor is just always gonna add a little bit of charm, a little bit more of a story. It's gonna just make your place feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more lived in, have a little bit more character than just feel sort of like you went and just sort of clicked some stuff off of a website and, you know, it arrived in your living room and away you go. Not that there's anything wrong with that either. I'm personally not a big like vintage thrifting kind of necessarily person, but that's just me. But I know that this is a trend that a lot of people love, and overall, I think that I really do love to see it in other people's designs, even if it's not something that I necessarily love for myself. That's okay. It's, you know, not everything is about what I love. It's also just what I love to see for other people. And I do think vintage and thrifted stuff is a trend that we're going to see continue. And I think it's a good trend. Like, I think it's a trend that we can take some of these old pieces that are amazing, that are beautiful, that have been loved before, and we can introduce them into our homes, you know, mixed in maybe with some new pieces, and it can be really, really beautiful. So definitely a trend that I see continuing, and one that is not going to look dated in several years, because again, if they looked good then, they look good now. Okay, the next trend I want to talk about for 2022 that is so hot that will continue to be hot is going to be handcrafted ceramics. So I love, 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 love ceramics. So I'm gonna include in here everything from sort of dinnerware sets that you can get. So really investing in some of those quality pieces that you use every day, which are gorgeous. There's a lot more companies that are making this really accessible. You can find them on Amazon, you can find them on WayFair. I'll link to some in the description, but there's some really, really beautiful ones that are out there that I think are relatively affordable, but they are going to be handcrafted. They're not going to be as uniform as we have seen. I think this sort of buys into this trend of kind of seeing more organic shapes and a little bit more imperfect shapes being brought into our designs. So this includes anything like the dinnerware sets that you can have, of course, but also things like pottery and different vases or vases, depending on what you say, that you might have. I hate the word vessel though. Can we retire the word vessel? Does anybody else hate that word, or is it just me? I hate when people, no, I know Arvin says it, and it's great when Arvin says it because Arvin can do no wrong, but still, I don't like when people talk about like their vessels. Anyway, let's just call them vases. Can we go back to doing that? Anyway, so I love those little pieces that people bring, these handcrafted ceramics. It does add some charm and character, which I really enjoy. So I always think that that's really fun to bring in something that, you know, again, has that little bit of a story, got a little bit more of an organic feel, a little bit more of a textural element is usually brought in there as well, which is fun and just adds, again, that character to a space and just sort of another kind of layer into the design. I really love that. I think these are beautiful. These have been beautiful for thousands of years, right? Like, these have always been gorgeous. So I think really investing in a quality piece that you're going to have with you for several years, I think is amazing. So sometimes these can also be vintage. Like, you can find some amazing ones that are from decades or hundreds of years ago or something. Those are obviously beautiful because, again, gorgeous then, gorgeous now. But there's also some really great artists out there that are producing some fabulous works that you can also bring in, some really great ceramicists artists that you might find locally that are able to produce some great work that you can use to display some of your stuff at home. So I really love this trend. I think this is really fun. And I think it's something that will really be beautiful because, you know, pottery and ceramics are just, it's a timeless art and it'll look beautiful in 5 years. So this is a trend that is hot right now that is worth investing in. Okay, next hot interior design trend 2022 that will continue to be hot for a very long time. Can't say how long, but a while. And that is going to be Zellige tiles. So if you're not familiar with Zellige tiles, they are square tiles. They're from Morocco. I think they're from like the 10th century. So these tiles have been around, right? You're noticing maybe a trend, by the way, in this video of what I think is going to last in the future. You know, not acrylic plastic or something that has been around for a short amount of time, but things that have been around for ideally thousands and thousands of years. So anyway, yes, Zellige tiles been around for a very, very long time. And these tiles are very, very popular. This also feeds into the trend I was just talking about people looking for more sort of organic, rustic sort of shapes and texture, like a handcrafted quality to pieces in their home. This is just an overall very popular trend, and that is why the Zellige tiles are super, super hot right now and is definitely the hot tile and has been for a couple of years, and I think will continue to be. People, again, are looking for that little bit of rustic, but not like the faux rustic. Like, we're not doing faux distressing. This is not the Kelly Clarkson WayFair collection that you know I'm not as big of a fan of. Love Kelly though. We voted for her a moment like this. We voted for her over Guarini. I get it. We love Kelly, but we don't really love the WayFair collection, if I'm being honest. You know, so we might not love the faux distressed kind of rustic thing. That is very, very out. We have well established that on this channel. But what is very in is authentic distressing, if that's a thing, like where things are handcrafted. And humans, when they handcraft things, don't make them perfectly. These tiles are handmade and they have been for, you know, hundreds of years. And there's still kind of this like revived sort of art in places like Morocco where they originate, and I think that that's absolutely beautiful. Now, I will say that the truly handmade stuff, the real Zellige tiles, the ones that are handcrafted and shipped over, those are going to be very expensive. I've seen like 80, 90, even $100 a square foot, which is crazy considering obviously a manufactured tile is going to be much, much, much cheaper. You're going to be looking at, you know, under 10 bucks a square foot for something that's more of kind of a uniform, as opposed to something like, you know, you could be getting like, honestly, you know, less than $5 or $10 a square foot for a manufactured tile that is not going to have the same imperfections and that handcrafted quality that you're going to get from a real Zellige tile. But I will say there are manufactured tiles that give the impression, if you will, a little bit of that handcrafted quality, and those can also be really beautiful as well. And so that, you know, if you can't afford $100 a square foot, because like who really can, you know, you might not be Gwyneth Paltrow watching this, so, you know, I get that you might not have that kind of money. There are manufactured ones that do give a very good replication of sort of a handcrafted sort of Zellige tile, and those can be really beautiful too. So there's definitely this trend though. So we're gonna say Zellige inspired tiles of just this really gorgeous rustic sort of quality, a little bit of that imperfection. You might even see the little bubbles in there, which is very, very cool. And when the light hits these tiles, they all sort of have a little bit of an interesting shimmer because the light just hits them in such an interesting way, and it just makes a room look really, really interesting and beautiful. Really common, especially for like minimalist spaces, because if you're in the absence of a whole lot of stuff like this, the tiles giving such character and such, you know, interesting, playing with the light and the texture and the shadows and all that stuff just really gives a lot more interest to a space. So I think these are really beautiful. Obviously, if you go with the classic Zellige tile and you want to pay that premium for something truly handcrafted, amazing. Those will absolutely look good for years to come. But even if you go with the ones that are like slightly faking it, but that's okay, I think those are going to look really gorgeous too. Even if you don't go with the classic square, by the way, there's some really interesting rectangle ones, really just all sorts of shapes and sizes that are in this style that are really beautiful and gorgeous, and I think will look great for years to come. So that's it for me for today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this video of me peering into my crystal ball a little bit. If you want to know what designs for 2022 I don't think are going to stand the test of time, feel free to check out the video here that I have linked, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks, bye.